Hi folks, welcome to my channel or welcome back. My name is Kat. I'm a licensed registered dietitian nutritionist, and on this channel we like to talk about weight neutral focused approaches to health, as well as diving into scammy and, in my opinion, unethical nutrition related businesses, products, mostly nutrition related MLMs, and other fear mongering nutrition claims. Today I just wanted to have kind of a conversation. I do have my notes right in front of me, but it'll be minimal editing. I really wanted to talk about the whole concept of health professionals in multi-level marketing companies. There are a couple of reasons why I want to talk about this. Of course, there could be other reasons, things that I don't really talk about in this video, but I wanted to give my viewpoint coming from somebody who is a health professional and was in a nutrition related MLM. I know, yikes, but we got through it, we learned a lot of lessons, and I'm here to talk about it. So if that sounds good to you, let's go. Okay, so we need to go back a little bit. I'm going to share a little bit of my story, my experience in my MLM that I was a part of, or in the MLM that I was a part of. Before we really jump into that, I just want to make a note that just because somebody is a health professional, you want to trust people who have education, people who have had not just book education, but also job application, supervised practice application, right? And unfortunately, sometimes it is still important to kind of take a step back and look at the person. The biggest example that I can think of right now is someone like Dr. Oz, who we know isn't necessarily the most some would call him a grifter. There is no specific kind of health professional that is immune to this. There is no specific profession in general, I would say, that is immune to just falling into finding themselves maybe as part of a multi-level marketing company. There are several reasons for this, and I do want to make it clear though that a lot of people who are part of MLM are very educated. Oftentimes people who get into MLM get into it when they are at a very vulnerable place, whether that is emotionally or financially, physically. They're getting into it, they're stepping into it when they have their guard down, when they are in a very vulnerable place. And so just kind of wanted to put those things out there before we really jump in. Okay, so let's go back to about 2015. I had just became a licensed registered dietitian. I was working as a clinical dietitian in a hospital, and that was all fun, but it was a drive and it was long days. On top of that, we had recently moved to what I considered the middle of nowhere in Kansas, and I didn't know people really. I was just trying to meet people in the area, being a military spouse, and that's something that I'm used to now, moving around and getting local contacts and just becoming more like friends or acquaintances with people in the different places that I moved to. But back then it was just a whole new thing, and just getting started with my career, getting married, trying to make new friends. There was just a lot going on. So there was a dietitian who reached out to me via LinkedIn. I'm going to share this email because this is what kind of let my guard down. This is really what piqued my interest, I guess, for lack of better terms. Okay, so the email was titled "For Kathleen from," and then the person's name. So she says, "Hey Kathleen, thank you for our connection via LinkedIn and happy Friday. I'm trying something new. I've been with a wellness company for 13 years now that is all about whole foods nutrition education. I am outreaching to wellness-oriented professionals who might be open to looking at novel ways to help their patients, clients, family, friends, and desire to earn another source of income, flex time, without interfering with their current employment. With 30 plus clinical studies on humans, I think you will be impressed for your own health too. So far, I'm having great reception, so I'm still at it, and I thought I would open this up to you. Anyway, it's very simple. If you are open to a quick presentation by phone, email me back to set up a 15-minute time slot. You will need internet access. Might be for you, might not be. Either way, you gain some knowledge and a new connection, and on the flip side, you only lose 15, 20 max minutes of your time. Fair enough? Hope to hear back. So at this time, I was really busy. I was working my clinical job. My hospital job was actually an hour away. So I was waking up super early to go work out, and then I would drive that hour, work 8 hours, drive that hour back. Sometimes I'd go back to the gym. I think this was around the time that I was starting to provide nutrition services for that gym. And so it was just a jam-packed day. And so like even 15 to 20 minutes at that time felt like, something that I was adding to my plate. But I had come from this, I was a brand new dietitian, right? And so I still had kind of this mindset of, and I still do, an open mindset. I didn't want to shut anything down. I want to learn as much as I can about things. I don't want to think or kind of just even subconsciously think that I'm like a know-it-all or anything like that. Like that is still something that I try to do, like continuing education wise. I'm always open to learning more and getting more certifications. Sometimes I feel like that's related to imposter syndrome, which we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, I didn't want to just flat out say no to this personal invitation. The fact that she signed it, has PhD, RD, that, you know, it held some weight. This PhD level dietitian was reaching out to me, a brand new dietitian, and I just felt like all of my professors, even from before then, would say like, you know, you always be open to opportunities. So I ended up messaging her back or emailing her back and saying, you know, like right now I have a lot on my plate. Maybe this is something that I can check back in with later. We can do this later, but not right now, pretty much. And this was her response. So she said, "Hi, Kathleen. Thank you so much for your kind response. I remember those days, side projects. I hear you are too busy to learn more now. I will honor that, and I'm excited to see what your professional career evolves to. My dream was to have an international private practice, but I always found I did not have enough time or money to build it. I know you have a huge vision too. I can honestly say that the majority of my practice, which yes, did go international, was built because of my alignment with Wellness Company. And that is why I love to reach out to entrepreneurial RDs who have a dream of their own. It can happen faster, sooner, and without working for so many others. So I hope you will reconsider sooner rather than later to chat. I do 50-minute presentations without any expectations for outcomes. Often people just gather the information, and when the timing is right, we touch base again and I begin to mentor. Let me know if you want to schedule something for the end of the year, first of the year, or if I should wait and touch base in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years. You tell me your timeline. Can't wait to hear all you're doing." So that made me feel kind of guilty in that, you know, I had responded with, I am working my full-time job. I am starting to work with my local gym. I'm also starting to write some blog posts that I was doing at that time for another company. And the fact that she just kind of, I don't know, like she acknowledged it, but I felt like that wasn't a good enough answer. Like she was like, it's only 15 minutes. And the fact that she had said specifically, she always found that she did not have enough time or money to do what she wanted to do. And so right there, she was like determining something that I was lacking and telling a story of how she had found a way to make that not be lacking in her life. And so that I would kind of subconsciously be like, oh, well, I might see myself in her story and want to hear about her wellness company. that's kind of how I took it, or that's how I take it right now. At that time, I was, my brain still like probably wasn't fully developed either, being in my mid-20s. And so, yeah, now I can see right through this. But anyway, so I responded back asking if she did her 15-minute presentations on the weekends. Maybe I could schedule that in sometime, because I was thinking, you know, it was just during like the work days, which would not be happening. And so she responded with, "Thanks for your reply. I get your timeline. And just so you know, I did this when I worked 70 hours a week. So depending on how you work, it's doable if you want to make it doable." And so I responded, we set up a time, and at this time she actually stopped responding to me, but not like because she didn't want me to be on her team. It was because there was another girl on her team who was actually I was former classmates with and friends with, and she had gotten connected with that PhD dietitian. More on that later, but she had gotten connected with that and found out that I was friends with that other dietitian, and that was her new downline. And so it was just gonna be better for her new downline to build team if she could continue reaching out to me instead of that PhD dietitian and have me join her team, because I already knew that dietitian, and it would be more likely, I guess, probably for me to join, and it would help her with her team building and everything. I don't know if that made sense, but basically I had two people reaching out to me at the same time. The one who ended up becoming my direct upline had recently signed up under that PhD dietitian, and that was a person who went to, like, I had classes with her. She was one of my friends, and so that PhD dietitian found out that she knew me, so she let her take me, basically. So it took me a few months. I was just hearing great things from this friend who I'm still friends with. I love her. She's cool. But I was just getting more information from her, from the direct upline to her, that PhD level dietitian. And I just had a lot of questions, felt kind of, I had some red flags, what I felt like were red flags pop up, but I had all those answered. One of the reasons why I ended up joining was because there were so many health professionals in that team overall, and in the company overall as well. So like while I was sitting on the fence, trying to decide when I was going to join, if I was going to join, I was sent multiple different like videos, not like testimonies so much about the product of people's like experience, but more of other like health professionals and how they've experienced it with themselves and their clients or customers, things like that. And it was not just dietitians. There were medical doctors, there were registered nurses, pharmacists. There's a really big pharmacist at the top of the company. Mental health professionals, like therapists who would share it with their clients and get their clients on their team, which after finding out about that, I was not a fan of that. That just feels a little bit, not just a little bit, that feels very unethical. There was just so many health professionals from all different areas, all different fields in the company, involved in the company. And so being brand new to being a dietitian, my thought was like, well, this feels a little weird, but who am I to question all of these people who have so many years of experience, like instead of me, so many years of just experience beyond what I have. And they're older adults. I was still like a very young adult at that time, and so they were just felt like adultier adults and like people who I could trust. And so that was a really big way that my guard was kind of let down, because there were so many other health professionals a part of it. So that first year, that first half year, it was actually like 7 months, because there was 1 month that I had to like redo something. But I made it to the halfway mark, to the very top. And so that kind of quick success made me really excited and made me believe that this was something that was easily doable. I was putting in quite a bit of work, but not as much as my direct upline was doing. And so I was thinking like, well, I know that I can always step it up and, maybe do even more. But I knew that what I was doing felt doable with everything else that I had on my plate, with my jobs and everything. So I kind of started being stuck at that level, and I really wanted to, like, because I had fun, getting to that level for the most part. I was like, well, why is it not doable? Like, it should be doable for me to make it to the other part. At the top of that company specifically, they did offer things like health insurance and or medical insurance overall. They had like extra holiday pay and things like that, things that they took kind of from the corporate world and incorporated into the top 2 levels, I think, of that company. Now it might be a little bit different. I know there are more levels in that specific company, but I'm not too sure what that looks like now. So I went to multiple boot camps, multiple trainings, both in person and online. I was around this time when I started to get even more into it. That was when I went from full-time at the hospital to PRN, or kind of like as needed, just because I had begun to focus more so on doing like private practice stuff and working more with the gym. I was just working more so like building that out. So I had a little bit more flexibility, or quite a bit more flexibility, and so I was able to go to all of these boot camps. I was going to the conferences, and I began to just be really good friends with some of the people in there, and I would go to some of the conferences and things like that, just like in order to support my business and that, but it was also just to have that kind of just friendship, to have that kind of community aspect of things. And so but while I was there, you're hearing all of this information about how the company is so great and how the products are and blah 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 blah, and so it just kind of kept me in, and all of the struggles that I was having with staying where I was stuck in that middle rank, I just kind of pushed some of my concerns kind of aside, because I was still like trying to participate as much as I could. However, at this time, this is really when that top upline, the one who had originally reached out to me, she would have one-on-ones with me where she would say, like, if you really want to build your business, and I would go to her because I wanted to build my business, but she would say what you have to do is really focus on building the team side of things. So recruiting people, if you want to get to the top, if you have that as a goal, you need to put your efforts into recruiting like-minded people, finding people where you were at when you joined. So a little bit like overwhelmed, new to being a dietitian, just open to opportunities, and just like young. And so I felt kind of weird having that as my person to reach out to, because I knew that some of the concerns that I had started to pop up for me, I didn't feel like it was the most ethical thing to just kind of push something on someone else when I began to have red flags. Now, before I began to really hear more about that recruiting side and really like have her encourage me to focus on that rather than the product, I did bring in team, and that's part of the reason why I was able to make it halfway. But by that point, when I started being stuck, I was seeing my team doing the exact same activities that I was doing, what I was doing to build to where I was at, and they weren't seeing that same success. And I started thinking, like, that is kind of just based on luck, and it wasn't so much that they weren't trying or anything. So anyway, I remember I was on the way, I was in the airport, ready to get on a plane to go to a conference. And I remember I was scrolling through the anti-MLM Reddit and just like taking screenshots of these people's experiences, and because I wanted to just read them, to go through them while I was on the plane. And that's really when listening to other people's experience in MLM, I was seeing myself in some of the stories that were being shared on the anti-MLM Reddit, and I wanted to learn more. I had a lot of questions. I'm kind of jumping ahead with that. Let me go back a little bit. Okay, so the focus being shifted from the product to building a team, that was something that I really did not appreciate, because I just wanted, like, it didn't make sense to me that I would make more competitors of myself really by having other people like sell what I was selling. But they kind of do this mental gymnastics where they say, you know, the more people that you help recruit, the bigger your team, the more people you're able to reach. And so that's kind of how I was able to suppress that for as long as I did, because I was like, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe I do need to focus on recruiting, because then I am truly helping more people with the product. So it's kind of like looking at it from a different perspective. Mental gymnastics right there. But anyway, and I also want to know at this time, and I mean, this is still something that will pop up, and I've gotten much better at, and just something that I think a lot of people get better at as they get older and as they get into their 30s. But I was very much just trying to be a people pleaser. I didn't want to rock the boat. I just didn't want people to feel uncomfortable. And so I didn't want to like push any red flags that I had, because I could feel when they would start to get a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit annoyed that I was asking all these questions. And so I was like, okay. And I just wanted to just make people happy. So that was also a reason why I didn't really stand up as much as maybe I wanted to in my gut. So when I was trying to process everything, I started to get some really the red flag started becoming hard to push down in around, I would say like mid to late 2018. And at that point, I hopped onto a team call, and that PhD dietitian, she had us write down this kind of like, she had us do this kind of exercise. I'm going to read some of it because this is really where I started to have concerns that what I was doing with MLM was not helping me in any way. It wasn't helping other people in any way, shape, or form. Well, it was helping her get money, but other than that, wasn't really helping. Okay, so she had us write on a piece of paper. She said, write down, I deserve to feel, I deserve to be, and I deserve to blank. And we were supposed to write down some of the, like, what we wanted to fill in those blanks. So I deserve to be XYZ. And I put for some of them are a little bit cringe, but this is just what I wrote in 2018. So I put, I deserve to feel safe, comfortable, happy, content, loved, enjoyed, confident, excited, joyful. And for the to be one, I deserve to be successful, debt-free, in love with my husband, love with my job, career, strong, in love with life in general, and I deserve to, and I just kind of continued on with that. So, some of that was like train to the level I want to train in with CrossFit, have fun, have free time to fill my own cup, have free time to serve others, have an awesome support network, community, not feel guilty about following my passions, my dreams, my goals. And so when I was looking back at all of those things that I wrote down, I realized that the MLM was doing the opposite of getting me to those places. It was not making me feel like I had more time. It was not making me feel happy or content. Like I did not like reaching out to people. It just, I did not enjoy it. I didn't feel joyful doing the work that I needed to do in order to make it to the top of the company. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't fun. And it was funny because she, I think, had us do this exercise to like help us to dream big and kind of sell the idea that we will reach those dreams with this business. But it did the complete opposite for me. And then like on the, I deserve to be, in love with my job, my career, in love with life. I could not see myself doing this long term and loving it. It was no. And it just didn't fit. From there, I started to write pros and cons of what the company was doing for me. And so some of the cons that I wrote down were network marketing is not your own business. You didn't start it. You're working for a huge company, no matter how great you think they are. You're not the CEO. You're a contractor with no say or control in products, price, marketing, business plan, qualification standards. You don't create anything. If you were the CEO, you wouldn't have to move up levels. You don't sell your own products. You sell theirs. You work for them. them, you distribute for them and help make money for the people at the top. If you really want to move up to significant income, you have to put lots of time and energy in, not just work in the stolen moments. I didn't want to see everyone as a prospect in 3 feet of me. No, in my experience, it's draining to prospect in the stolen moments and adds time away from my family and from my other businesses. And that time is important for me to clear my head, to relax, and not be filled with sharing the opportunity. I did not want to still be recruiting for business when I reached the top. That sounds draining and not fun. That was something that, that PhD level dietitian, she was at the very top and she was still recruiting out to me. Yes, it was just an email, but it was still work that she was doing, and who knows how many other people she sent that email to that day or that week even. And so I didn't want to make it to the top and still be doing the exact same things that I was doing, because I was not enjoying it. And if I wasn't doing the same things that I was doing when I was at a lower level, that part didn't seem ethical to me. Either way, if I was still doing what I was doing or if I was not still doing what I was doing, it just did not seem ethical. I didn't want to deal with the chance of losing downline. My own business is less risky than that. And that was from specifically one of the conferences that I went at. There was a lady who was talking about how it was supposed to be inspiring. It was a story about how she made it to the top. But before she made it to the top, she was almost to the top and her whole team kind of fell away. And so she had to kind of restart over again. And so that was supposed to be the inspiring part, but that just scared me that your business was so dependent on everybody else under you. I didn't want to sell anybody's product, abide by anybody's business rules. They have so many rules that a lot of the distributors don't even follow or read fully for advertising and making your own content, things like that. But I didn't want to put money into the pockets of millionaires and corporate. And this was the weird thing that it made sense. It didn't make sense, and they changed the narrative based on what you had concerns over, right? When you would have concerns over giving more money to extremely wealthy people, they would be well, this is why you support MLM, because you're giving it to small businesses. But in reality, there's so many people at the top who are just making so much money off of everybody else's work, and I didn't want to support their lives like that. I don't want to give them any more money. There are some people at the top of the company that I was a part of who I was just not a fan of, and I was I don't want to share my money with you. I'm sorry. So, and then corporate, they're making huge amounts too, so I just didn't like that. There was a time at one of the conferences, there was a team dinner, and that top level dietitian who had reached out to me on LinkedIn, she was really excited and she was celebrating being part of the Millionaire Club. Now, the Millionaire Club sounds really awesome up front, right? But it's not million that you've brought in for that year. That was her whole time since being a part of the company. Now, I don't know if you remember, but from that original email that she sent me, she said, I have been with the wellness company for 13 years now. Now, when she was part of the Millionaire Club, it was 2 years later, 2.5 years later or so. So around 15 years. So over 15 years, she brought in $1 million. And I don't even know if that $1 million was $1 million sold or if she earned it. Either way, even if that was what she earned, when you break that apart in all those 15 years, over 15 years at that point, it's less impressive, especially for what I wanted to do, what I was seeing other dietitians outside of MLM do, and what they were kind of reaching business-wise. Her celebrating that $1 million club, it just, honestly, it looked really silly while I was in that moment. And I was am I the only one here who kind of thinks this is not really that much to celebrate? I don't know. Anyway, and I will say, that is a lot of money for a lot of people, but I'm not discounting the amount of money that is even spread out, but to tie that with this kind of idea that you can reach that and that gives you all of your dreams, they were just way overselling that specific amount. That's what I'm trying to say with that. It was just all these little things again and again. There were a couple like tactics that kept me in. One of the things was actually, so it was this. This cheap little photo frame. I don't know if that's what you would call it. It's like a little clipboard, but you can put like a picture in it. It's cute. But that top upline, she actually gave that to me for Christmas one year, and it came with a note. I wish I would have kept this note so bad. I remember throwing it away when I was just kind of getting frustrated about what I was learning about MLM. But man, I wish I would have kept it. But anyway, basically, it said something along the lines of when she was building her business, when she was working all the way to the top where she ended up, she kept a picture frame on her desk. And the whole idea behind that was if she ever quit the business, she made this kind of bet against herself or something, I don't know. But she would place a picture of the person who made her quit. So she would have to look at their picture every day as, and I really do remember this part of it, the person who made her quit her dreams. That just kind of reinforces kind of, I was feeling, I was seeing myself on both sides of staying in or leaving. And the idea, she sent me this and told me that story of, whoever will make me essentially, make me quit, I'm going to have to look at them every day and know that that's the person who made me quit my dreams. And so, that I think was a tactic that I, really took to heart, because I thought that it was nice that she was sending me a gift for Christmas. And I didn't want to have somebody who would make me quit my dreams. And so that made me stay in longer, because I was like, is this my dream? Like, maybe this is my dream. Maybe, there are haters who want to, make you want to quit your dreams, things like that. And so that kept me in, trying to build for longer than it should have. But when I found out more about the actual statistics around multi-level marketing, the fact that over 99% of people lose money or don't make money, and not for lack of trying, there were so many people. That's a whole nother, well, no, we can talk about that. There's the whole argument that the people who aren't making the money or losing money just signed up for the discount, like they don't really want to work. But there are so many people in that team overall, not just on my small team that I had, but in the larger team that would join with the best intentions of trying to work, and they would work, they would show up, they would reach out, but they just, their luck was not there. And so they would end up falling off and then just becoming a customer. But it wasn't because they didn't try at first. So anyway, it's based off recruiting people in vulnerable situations. And because I was told to reach out to people who I was when I joined, which was somebody who was at a very vulnerable situation. And all MLMs do this regardless of the product. And so that's really where I had to question, maybe I didn't have so much issue on the product itself, but more so on the company structure. And that was enough to where that's enough to leave. It wasn't until that I started to see how people were getting harmed by MLM that I really started to kind of step away, because it wasn't enough for my own red flags and my concerns in general. In my experience, it wasn't enough for me to leave for that. It was seeing other people, and that's kind of how I am with a lot of things, right? Like if somebody is being kind of rude to me historically, now I don't deal with it. But historically, I would let people kind of walk over me more so. But if somebody starts to be rude or kind of walk over one of my friends, that's where I'm going to have an issue. I'm going to draw the line. I'm going to, stand up then. It's easier for me to stand up for other people than it is for myself. I don't know why. That's probably something I need to work through in therapy or something. But it was me learning about how MLM affected or impacted other people that really helped me or really was the reason why I started to step away. So kind of going back when I mentioned about the reading anti-MLM Reddit and just hearing all the people's stories, their experiences that I could kind of see myself in, but theirs were maybe even worse, or they had other issues pop up. I was like, that makes total sense with everything, my experience and stuff. And so just seeing other people get hurt was like that top up line. She would always say, like, you have to have 4 pillars to build your business and to make it to the top. Those 4 pillars were belief in self, which I had belief in myself 100%. Like, I knew that if I wanted to do something, I could do it if I really wanted to. I have some big goals right now, but I do have, you know, belief in myself that I can make the sacrifices that I need to make, and it might not look like exactly how I want it to, but I do have belief in myself that I can reach my goals. So that was one. Belief in the product. So I had a good experience with the product. I was even seeing the product when I would, you know, travel here and there to Chicago O'Hare Airport. They have this like giant display of these gardens, the gardens that we were selling that was like the main product that got me excited and got me to join. And so just seeing like that, it was just exciting to me. And so I didn't have any issues with the product itself. And then for the other products that they had, there were a couple of articles that people wrote negatively about it, but they were easily debunkable. And this is one thing, kind of a side note about anti-MLM. Sometimes there are some arguments about specific products where they'll think they'll be like, gotcha. And on the anti-MLM or the MLM side, they're like, no, you completely misrepresented your argument did not represent what the actual product is. And so it would like push people more so into the MLM because they were trying to like debunk it and failing at it essentially. So that was one of the reasons why it took me even longer to leave. Belief in the company was a third one. So besides the business model, marketing didn't align with myself 100%. I did have a really big issue that they started to promote this fad diet. There was like a 10-day diet, 10-day shred. It was horrible. It was not a sustainable thing at all. They tried to do more mental gymnastics and be like, it's a 10-day shredding of habits that don't serve you. You know, it's not like restriction when it clearly is restriction. It's one of those things where like people are like, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle, but it's really a diet still. So something like that. And then the fourth one was that belief in the business model. And that's when I started to learn more. That's where I was like, I know that I'm not going to reach the top, because regardless of my belief in myself, my, you know, support in the product of the company, that's how I felt then, not now. But I knew that that fourth pillar, belief in the business model, that was not going to allow me to get to the top, because I just had so many issues with it ethically, and I was not going to be able to get through that. So that is kind of my experience. This was longer than what I expected it to be. I'm so sorry, but I do still want to talk about why I think other health professionals get sucked into MLM, because that was the whole point of this video. I'm sorry. Okay, so I truly believe that, and this is not just health professionals, this is like people in general. I truly believe that most people have good intentions of joining MLM and do really want to help people, whether it's with serving them with a product or with a business or with both. But they don't maybe fully understand that product or fully understand the business, like in my case. And you know, they just want to help people, and they are kind of too trusting almost, maybe not almost, but trusting of where they're getting that information from. And this can happen especially if people are in a very vulnerable place, or if there's this kind of power dynamic. So for me, being this brand new baby dietitian with this PhD level dietitian, that was immediately like this, that power dynamic was established. Now, the wild thing is, recently, not like super recently, but it was earlier this year or last year maybe, a viewer reached out to me, and they actually shared with me that PhD level dietitian, her PhD, it's not from an accredited university. It is from a diploma mill. On her LinkedIn, she has where she got her PhD. All her other like certifications and degrees, like they're legitimate, but this PhD one is she put it as like shortened, like and I think that's because she knows that the actual name of that place where she got her PhD is not like respected. It's not legitimate. The fact that somebody is just reaching out to people with that, like saying that they have a PhD, saying that they have that level of education, like that gives people just this trust, this kind of instant trust. Even if you go in knowing like, you can't trust everybody still. And the fact that hers is from a diploma mill just says so much, I think, about what it takes to reach the top of the company. Going back to why health professionals might join MLM, I do truly think that a lot of times, like especially if they don't know about MLM, like I had no idea what MLM was before. I did not know about the business structure. Like I don't know how I missed that, but that was just something that never came up. I had heard of some multi-level marketing companies, but I didn't know that they had that business structure. I didn't know that they were their own kind of thing. So I think there's a little bit of frustration that maybe health professionals might be experiencing with like their patient or client load, the number of hours that they have to not just work like with the patients and clients, but also on the back end of charting everything, and if they have to run things through insurance and stuff like that. Frustrations with maybe if they have their own practice, the costs to operate, the stress levels of dealing with the operation and the overhead and things like that. Maybe they have income issues, being like overworked and they feel underpaid. And so when something like that email comes in and they see this person who has kind of reached, they can see themselves like in their goal of like that person has reached that time freedom and financial freedom, and they just kind of want to learn more about the opportunity. And then at that point, you're kind of just, after they continue to reach out to you over and over again, it just kind of starts to sound good and they start to learn more about you and your story, and they know what areas they need to really promote to sell this kind of product or opportunity to you. I think another reason is just reaching out about opportunities to people whose careers rely on continuing education. I think that's a huge aspect too. Health professionals are required to get continuing education every so often in order to upkeep their credentials. You don't want somebody who's a health professional practicing with, unupdated information, right? And so health professionals have kind of, they go into it with that mindset that they are a lifelong learner, or they should be a lifelong learner. And so when somebody reaches out to you about this opportunity, there's that kind of part of your brain where you're like, I have that open mindset. Like I am always trying to get better at my job and know research and application things. And so I think that's a huge reason why as well. And then just the process overall, I think there's a lot of brainwashing, for a lack of a better term or word, into like-minded people. You start to be around these people who have similar experiences, who are maybe, a couple of months or a couple of years into the company ahead of you. And so they might have gotten that kind of dream, set from being involved with other people before you joined. And so they like now live and breathe the company at that point and its products. And so, and that's a community that you're around, and that community, you're reaching out, whether it's on like Facebook or Voxer or whatever kind of app that you're all connected with. Everybody is, promoting the idea of being positive and being uplifting and happy and supportive. And so, just to have that kind of community when maybe your place of business, your work is overworked and they might be a little bit more grumpy, having that place where you can be with other similar minded people in the sense of like profession outside of MLM, and have it be like a strictly positive place. And it sets the place to have this kind of slow brainwashing and the idea that like this is the best product ever, this is the best company ever. I do believe that there comes a time where the distributor knows what they're doing. In my opinion, they know that if they want to continue to push ahead and get to the very top, they know what's going to be needed. That might not be the most ethical thing. I don't think it's ethical at all, but they have to decide whether they're going to do that or not. And I feel like the intention when you get in, a lot of people have good intentions, but there comes that fork in the road where they have to choose. And in my opinion, that kind of tells you about who the people are at the top. Big decisions about personal beliefs and ethics come into play. And for this company that I was a part of, I do believe that was that middle rank, because I reached it super fast in that half of the year. And finding out what I needed to do in order to make it to the second half just was not for me. There's actually a quote that I remember from a CoffeeZilla video, someone who he was interviewing, and he had said something that his late wife would always say. The quote was, "Don't make money at the expense of others, make money at the service of others."
My late wife said the best thing ever. She says, don't make money at the expense of others, make money at the service of others. And unfortunately, a lot of these courses make money at the expense of others. So,
well said, Michael. Well,
and I think if somebody is going to go into MLM and reach the top levels, there is making money at the expense of others. They're going to see it at the service of others, and you could mental gymnastics your way into seeing it for the service of others, but I don't think you can mental gymnastics your way out of also making money at the expense of others at that point. So it did take me, a while to leave. And while I was leaving, it was very hard. It took years to fully get out of it, because first I started to just stop recruiting, and then I started to stop talking about the product, and then I decided to stop, using the product. And so that took a series of, it was a lot of work. And so I think, when you're talking to people, trying to get them to hear more about anti-MLM activism and things like that, like, don't try to rush people, because for some people, they can immediately learn about it and say, like, I'm out. But for other people, it might take years, and they might need to just, slowly take steps out. That was me, for example. It was so hard to leave ultimately, because I knew that I was going to have to face myself in what my confidence was. I lost a lot of confidence being part of MLM. Just confidence in being able to trust my own decisions, business-wise, being a business owner, having my own LLCs, legitimate businesses, could I trust my decisions because of what I was a part of, and becoming a part of it without fully understanding the business structure. I mean, that was a huge just blow to my confidence. But I knew that the negative impact that MLM has on others was more important than, my own confidence. And that was something that I would, have to just fix on my own or work through. But working through that was really hard, especially because, like, I saw my team doing the same actions that I was doing, and they weren't having the same success that I was doing or that I was having. And so I had built confidence on the fact that I had that success, and seeing that other people were doing the exact same thing but not coming up with the same success, that was also a confidence thing of, like, was it just all luck? Which, yeah. And, also, personality plays a big role, I think, in it, but ultimately it's about who you reach out to, who you technically bamboozle, in my opinion. Just how I could be so naive to fall into something like this. It has taken me years to feel like I can fully, share my story, talk about it, and talk about how it made me feel. I just wanted to help people. It's taken me years to get to where I'm at now, feeling okay with just what I experienced, my part in the unethical recruitment of into multi-level marketing. When I was leaving, I did tell my team, like, I listed, like, reasons why I had issues with MLM, and I let them know, like, I'm not going to support this anymore, and here's why. Some of them left, some of them didn't. I still love them, but I whenever somebody did leave when I was really active, I didn't hold that against them. I was never like, I'm going to unfriend you now or anything like that, because I truly did. I was coming from a place of wanting to help people. And so I saw this Instagram post a couple months ago, how it was talking about, all MLM distributors are, just trying to exploit people, things like that. I think some are, but I think some really do just want to help people, and they just don't know what they've gotten themselves into. So yeah, I don't know if that really answers kind of the point of, I think it does. I've kind of been rambling this video, but there's just so much when it comes to, I mean, anybody joining an MLM, but we're specifically talking about health professionals joining MLM. And I think I, gave a lot of reasons why that could be. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I would like to know if you are a health professional and you've been in MLM. I would love to just be connected. It's good to have this kind of talk, because there is some talk, but there's not a whole lot of talk in especially anti-MLM activism about specifically health professionals who are in multi-level marketing, especially the ones who leave. And I think a big part of that is the same reason why we didn't have anti-MLM activism to the same level it is today years and years ago, because there was a lot of shame, there was a lot of guilt, there was a lot of just feelings that make you want to hide. And so I think we're kind of at that point with health professionals where it's time to talk about it. And so if you specifically are a health professional and you want to share your story about being involved in MLM, I would love to talk to you. It's okay to talk about the reasons why you joined and to open up those feelings of guilt and shame and confidence loss. It's really hard, but it's good. It's important. All right. That kind of wraps it up. Wow. If you have not liked this video, please like it. Please make sure you're subscribed. All those good things. I have a new website. I will leave that linked in the description box down below. It was kind of, I just had so many different projects and things going on at the same point or the same time. So I just wanted a central location to put everything. And so all of that is there. I have multiple different freebies there. I'm using my email list now, so be sure to check that out, and I will see you in my next video. Remember, you can strive for health without subscribing to diet culture. I'll see you later. Bye.